Hey, how's it going, guys, and welcome back to another episode. If you haven't seen this before, I bought an Aston Martin Rapide, which I thought just needed a little bit of body repair. It turns out it needs everything redoing, so we've completely stripped it down. So where we are right now is that we're actually repairing the frame of the car itself, which if you know a little bit about Aston Martins, you'll know that it's made out of aluminium, which just creates a whole load of complications. But I'm determined to get this car back on the road. It's been a few weeks since I last done an episode, and the reason for that is really down to two things. First of all, I have to admit, I sometimes think to myself, is it worthwhile doing this on YouTube? It's just, it's a little bit difficult to keep yourself motivated because a lot of effort goes into sort of filming and editing and things like that. And, you do wonder whether it's worthwhile doing. But I still get lots of comments and people commenting and saying, what's going on with the car? Where is it all? So I appreciate that. Truly, I do appreciate that. And it keeps me motivated. So if you haven't already, then do subscribe because I am going to continue with this project. The second reason why I haven't been posting is because of the car itself. Because it's such a big job. I mean, this is so much bigger than what I initially thought it was going to be. And I've put time into it, I've put money into it, and you kind of wonder to yourself, is it actually worthwhile? Because financially, it's probably not. Let's be honest here. I mean, it's probably, I don't think I will get what I'm putting into the car out of it if I ever come to sell it again. But at the same time, I'm doing it for the experience, and I have to say, the experience side of it, I initially was enjoying, and then I wasn't enjoying because it wasn't quite going to plan. Everything that we looked at, there seemed to be more and more problems. But what we've done on the car, what you will see in this video, and what you'll see in future videos, nobody has done this before. Nobody, and I guarantee you that nobody has done this before. But it's kind of mind-blowing. I'm actually really proud of how far we've come with it because I've learned a lot and I've had to teach myself a lot of exactly what needs to be done. So anyhow, let's dive in and have a look at the car, and then I'll come back at the end with a few comments. Alright guys, so this is the car, and as you can see, there has been a lot of progress. So let's have a quick look around first, and then we will look at specifics. Right, let's start from this side over here. So as you can see, the gap here was really tight before, and actually before we even come to the door, just look at the quarter panel. I mean, the quarter panel is practically back into shape. What they've done is they've been able to pull it back in. And I mean, obviously they've been using this to pull it, and then also I assume that they've had it welded over here, which is the reason why we've got these weld spots here. But all of that can sort of come off and be sanded down, and finish wise it'll be back to perfect. I mean, even this here, they've got it back into shape. I assume that they've pulled it from here. I'm really quite amazed at how they've done this. Because it's more or less back into shape, which is really surprising. Now the gap here is probably a little bit, it probably needs to come back a little bit more, which is fine, but you can see, I mean, that door now, whereas previously it was very, very tight and it wasn't closing properly, that is practically back into shape. So just looking at the inside of this, that area there where the seatbelt buckle is, that is practically perfect, as is the top of the tunnel there, and this whole area. I mean, it looks worse than it actually is because the black stuff is actually the glue, so it's not that the metal is burnt, but there's one section down there which they're going to have to weld. There's a tiny bit of a hole there. This piece down here in the center, that's going to be changed, so we'll take that out of the other car, and then everything else will just get sort of hammered back into shape again. They're going to have to do a fiberglass repair on this section here once that's all complete. But really quite surprised. I mean, it's nice to see it taking shape. So this is how we actually heated up the aluminium. So as you can see there, they're heating up the transmission tunnel. Now the actual structure of the car is all made from aluminium. So you can't just pull it like normal steel where it retains its shape. What you need to do is you actually need to heat the aluminium up, and that way it softens up, and then you're able to pull it. So the sort of the pulling tabs that they had welded to the car itself. First of all, we actually had to heat up all of this aluminium that we wanted to shift, that we wanted to move, and then we could actually pull the car, and then it cooled down, and then we had to heat it up again. And you can see here they're putting water on, because what would actually happen is, as they're heating it up, the glue from the adhesive that would so this is the adhesive. You can see the white I guess it's soundproofing of some sort. That would actually, the adhesive would start to burn, so we'd actually have to put water on it to keep it cool so it didn't set the whole thing on fire. But this is literally what we had to do. It was a very painstaking task. It took a couple of weeks actually, to get all of this done. It wasn't a quick process at all. So let's have a look down here. If you recall, this whole section was pushed back in, and that's come back out now. Obviously, that's looking quite bad, but again, we've got the other car. We'll just take it off the other car and repair that part. This is all going to stay, this section here. And what they've done, right, let's move on to the back. So the boot itself, the gap is still not perfect. As I said, it needs to come back just a slightly little bit more. And the trouble is that they have to heat it, not too much, heat it up, and then pull it, let it settle, let it cool down, and then do it again. So they can't just keep pulling it. It'll damage the aluminium. So it takes a little bit of time. And you'll see that the gaps are not perfect, which is fine, because we know that that's going to come back a little bit more. This side has, I think, I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to recall if it has been pulled or not. I think it's been pulled slightly. And what they've done, so they've put the gold boot lid on, and you can see it's a little bit damaged, but all of this can be repaired. That's not a problem. It's just fiberglass. Underneath the frame itself is absolutely fine. The glass is damaged, but it's fine because we've got the other trunk lid where the glass on that is fine, but this part was damaged. So we're just going to change the glass once we're ready to do that. So we'll have a look at all of that. We'll have to do a small repair over here as well on that section. Now I told them to take the boot out because it was damaged anyway, and it was just kind of getting in the way. And by having it out now, you can see a lot more, right? You can see a lot more. You can see, okay, that section needs to come back a little bit, and this section is absolutely fine. So from the other car, we can then take the extenders, the frame extension, and put that in. But it's, again, it looks bad because, it's work in progress, but I've seen it come along and it's not as bad as it previously was. So sections like this, this is one section here, this is a separate section, and this is all glued onto this section here. So I'm not entirely sure how we're going to replace this upper section, because it's probably easier to explain in the parts diagram. I think I've run through it once before, but anyhow, we'll save the detail of that for another section. But this whole back section here, with the trunk and everything like this is all fiberglass, and it's all coming off the other car. But it's just trying to work all of that out. That's a little bit tricky. Now on this side, there's still some work to be done. We've got the back door, which I think position-wise it was fine. There was a slight, I'm trying to see if I can still see it in the roof here. It was around about here. I can't actually see it now, so I think they've got that back into shape, and so that little kink that was there, I think it was slightly like that, and it kinked it over here. Now that they put it back into place, the kink itself is gone, so that's good. Now they've had to do a little bit on the A panel with this damage that was done here. It's impacted the A panel a little bit. The gold door, we've taken off the other car, a little bit of damage here, but and a little bit of damage here, but we'll get all that right. So I'm not worried about this over here. I think we can get all this door perfectly fine. Obviously this one, I'm going to need a new door for. So if you do have any doors for Rapide on the front right hand side, then let me know. I do have the gold door. Now that gold door is damaged, but it's not as damaged as this one. So what we're going to do is we're going to put that on here, get all the gaps right, and then they know that everything is back in the right place. So I think there's a little bit of adjustment to do around on the A pillar. One of the things that does surprise me is this gap over here. So we need to have a look at that, because I'm not entirely sure, you know, that there is not great either. So I'm not entirely sure if it's the door or something else. So we'll have a look at that. So once we get that door on, we'll be able to really start to look at it all really and finalize all the gaps. The biggest part of this job though is going to be this back section here. I'm not entirely sure how we're going to resolve that one. So there you go guys, what do you think? Am I nuts or should I push on? Because I'm so far into this project now. The trouble is that not only is it all the bodywork and frame and all of that needs to be repaired, but also the engine as well. The engine has to be completely rebuilt. And I've actually bought a lot of the parts for the engine already. So a lot of my costs have already been realized, you know, so I've already bought a whole load of bits for the car. I bought a whole load of body parts for the car as well. I've managed to find a perfect door, which I've now purchased, and you'll see in a future episode that we put that onto the car as well. So I'm so far into this project, but as you can see, there's so much that still needs to be done. You know, particularly around getting all those gaps right, putting that boot in place, you know, that whole understructure that needs to go in, and you know, how do we even get that off the gold donor car itself? It might be perfect on the donor car, but we still need to get it off the donor car and put it onto the black car. And you'll see in future episodes how we do that, and you'll be absolutely amazed. Let's put it this way, when I suggested it to the guys at the workshop that this is how we need to do it, they said it's not possible, but we proved them wrong. So if you haven't already subscribed, then do subscribe, because that's going to be coming up in a future episode, and we're going to continue pushing on with this build. If you've got any advice for me, please leave it in the comments below, because I could definitely do with advice. I'm not pretending that I even know what I'm doing here. I'm just learning it as I go along, watching tons of YouTube videos, researching tons of articles, and then learning from there. I've never worked with aluminium before, particularly not in this particular way, so it's all new to me, and I'm hoping that you guys are all learning something from this as well. So I'll catch you in the next episode, and we'll be pushing on with the car. Till then, take care.